Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official top 5 parlays for college football week number 13 here on this holiday week. And guys, I do have an absolute discount blowout special Black Friday parlay that I'm going to be sharing here as well, obviously, as my top 5. So guys, we always start off with the safe parlay. Of course, it is the auto lock of the week. And guys, I am going in on Ole Miss on the money line versus Mississippi State. Maybe a little bit of a risk, but I believe in Lane Kiffin at home in a rivalry. Lane Kiffin very motivated to win this game with all of the coaching rumors. He loses this game, you know, you've got to win it. Your Ole Miss, the line overall is -2. It seems small for a team that is solid. Mississippi State, I just like Ole Miss at home, guys, and I'm rolling with it. Yes, it is a big risk, but you got to risk it sometimes. You know, it is supposed to be the safe parlay, so I guess probably not very smart. But either way, guys, we're going with it. Next, this is a lot safer. Florida State money line versus Florida. I don't know how they're only 10-point favorites. I think the line actually dropped to 9.5. Love Florida State. They're on a warpath right now. They're so great. Taking them on the money line. We're going Ohio State, the first to 25 points versus Michigan. So guys, at some point, there's a line in the sand. If you're Ryan Day, you have to beat Michigan. It just feels like this year Ohio State is taking this really seriously, and Michigan dealing with the injuries. I think Ohio State, I would be shocked, even with Michigan's solid defense, when you actually look at who they faced, they've been loading and fattening up on really bad Big Ten offenses. I know their defensive numbers are really good. It's mainly because they faced a bunch of horrible offenses. So I think Ohio State is able to get into the 30s at least against Michigan. I think I have the final score at 34-17. Of course, you know, there's so much in terms of Blake Corum's health that's going to factor into this game, but in terms of getting to 25 points, you've got to like Ohio State's chances after that embarrassing loss last year. They're at home. You've got to get it done if you're Ohio State. I think that's like -220, by the way, the odds on that, the first team to 25. And then Notre Dame at USC, we're going the under 68.5. So guys, this was a line that I just saw today. It is crazy. Notre Dame and their defense, I think the actual over-under is 64. I love the under, but obviously if we're talking about the safe parlay, we're going to bump it up. We're going to buy some points and be a little bit more safe. So, you know, the reason this over-under is so high is, I guess, due to USC's bad defense coupled with their good offense. But I don't know, man. I like Notre Dame to keep this game a little bit lower scoring. 64 points is a tough ask because Notre Dame doesn't have a great offense. So I'll take the under 68.5. That's me buying some points. And there are the overall odds. You can see the Ohio State first team to 25 is -245. Basically, Ohio State just has to get to 25 points before Michigan. They could even lose the game. But as long as Ohio State is leading like 28-21, I already win the bet. That's what that means. So that is +418. But it could also be a situation where if Ohio State wins like 24-17, I would lose. So there's pluses and minuses with it. But normally, bets like that do well. Even last week when I had my safe parlay, I had Ohio State the first team to 30. And even though they struggled with Maryland, they were the first team to 30, so that bet won as well. So normally, I do very well on things like that. Next, we do have the massive Black Friday special. I'm going to go through this rapid fire, guys. This is an extravaganza. This is a 2-for-1 deal. It is unbelievable. Boise State moneyline versus Utah State. That is the noon game. Boise State sitting at 16-point favorites right now on Black Friday. Arizona moneyline versus Arizona State. I love the value of Arizona. They're simply better than Arizona State, and they're at home. They've got an explosive offense. I like it. Arkansas at Missouri. We love the under 55.5. It's just a general vibe I'm getting with this game. I like the under. Nebraska plus the 10.5 at Iowa. Iowa's starting tight end, Sam Laporta, is out in this game. I love Nebraska's value here because I don't think Iowa's going to score more than 20 points. If that happens, you'd think Nebraska could at least get to 10 or 12. I actually think Nebraska might be an upset team this week over Iowa because I think Iowa's offense is so bad. North Carolina, I misspelled Carolina. Moneyline versus NC State. So yeah, we like North Carolina to cover the 6.5-point spread, but when we're doing a parlay, we'll just take them on the money line and not deal with it. UCLA money line at California. I love UCLA's offense. I love Chip Kelly. Florida State money line versus Florida. That's self-explanatory. And then Fresno State. I think they're 15-point favorites. That's the nightcap on Black Friday, the 10:30 game. I'm taking them on the money line versus Wyoming. So that is an absolute discount extravaganza blowout deal right there. 8 total team. You can see plus 1,600. Could you imagine if that won? Oh my goodness. But moving back to my number 2 parlay, we're going to go Nebraska at Iowa, the under 38.5. Again, we learned today that Sam Laporta, Iowa's best offensive weapon, is out. Nebraska really can't score at this point, even with Casey Thompson. We like the value on the under 38.5 in that rivalry game. Western Kentucky money line at FAU. Western Kentucky is just significantly better than FAU. I believe they're 7-point favorites, but I like the value of them. I think they're minus 250 on the money line. Northern Illinois money line versus Akron. So guys, Northern Illinois, one of the most unlucky teams in college football. They're better than their record. Akron sucks. I think Northern Illinois is 10-point favorites, so I like the value of them just winning the game outright. Illinois money line at Northwestern. So Illinois playing very well last week. You would figure they would get back on track. They nearly beat Michigan. They're facing a Northwestern team without a pulse. I will say I am a little weary of this matchup due to Pat Fitzgerald. It's Northwestern's last game of the season. But I like the under in this game. I'll say that much. And I do like Illinois to win it. I think Chase Brown is healthy. So that's just kind of a more safe one, plus 289 there, including 3 money line picks and then an under in that one. Moving on to my third parlay, New Mexico plus 7.5 at Colorado State. So a lot of people are in on this bet, and what this is this is just betting against a really bad team. Colorado State, even though they are at home, they're just not good. I know New Mexico as well is not good because they're 7.5-point underdogs, but it's like, is Colorado State really going to cover a 7.5-point spread? 7 times out of 10, they're not. So you're just banking on playing the odds on something like that. North Texas minus 14 versus Rice. Rice has been terrible recently. This was one of my best bets. I said to take North Texas minus 13, and there is so much money on North Texas because they've got an explosive offense. You're looking at maybe like 52-28 type game in that one. Minnesota plus the 3 at Wisconsin. This is a rivalry game. I think there is significant value. Minnesota runs the ball really well. Wisconsin under with Jim Leonhard as the interim. He's actually going to be the full-time head coach next year for Wisconsin. They said that, and that makes complete sense. Defensive mind. But it just feels like plus 3 is decent value for Minnesota. In my opinion, they're the better team. Wisconsin, again, they've been kind of weird. They'll have a few good weeks, a few bad weeks. Their defense has been good. I understand it. But I like Minnesota possibly to win that game, and that's just a 3-team parlay, so that's plus right around 600 on the odds on that one. Moving on to my 4th parlay, we're going to go South Alabama money line versus Old Dominion. Old Dominion is like the boogeyman to me. I mean, I cannot get an Old Dominion pick right, but I'm being safe here. South Alabama, 15-point favorites, the great defense. I'm taking them on the money line in that one. Temple plus 11.5 versus East Carolina. So Temple playing better outside of last week. Last week, their offense got crushed. This week, you know what? I also like the under in this game because any Temple home game, I like the under, and I like Temple plus the 11.5 because East Carolina, you see them last week versus Houston. My goodness, it was embarrassing. They had 3 total points of offense. Temple, in the second half of the year, they have been performing better on offense outside of last week. Last week, they got crushed. This week, I think they're due for a better offensive performance. Auburn at Alabama, the over 49.5. I think people are just scarred by the Iron Bowl last year and just the crazy low-scoring game that they played. But in this one, I just think there's good value if it's at 49.5 on the over. Auburn's been a fun team on offense, with Cadillac Williams. Alabama with Bryce Young in his last game. I could see this game going over. It was at 47 originally. That's where the real value was. Now, a lot of people have bet the over, so it has gone up. And then UTSA minus 17 versus UTEP. This is another very popular bet. UTSA is kind of a team just like Florida State. All they're doing late in the year is covering. Same thing with Penn State. Same thing with Notre Dame. These teams are just playing so well, and it's just good to ride the hot hand. So UTSA, really, they could be minus 21. They could be minus 23. We're pretty much taking them no matter what right now because they're on this roll, and you really want to cash in on that. So we're taking them minus 17. And then there is the 14 parlay, once again, right around plus 600, plus 700 overall odds on that one. And then moving to my final parlay, there is a little Thanksgiving NFL action. I really do like the Vikings to bounce back after their loss last week. That is a moneyline home game. That is the Thanksgiving nightcap for the NFL. So that's the 8:20 game, and the game is in Minnesota. So I'll just take them on the money line versus Mac Jones. I'll take the Cowboys money line versus the Giants. You know, I just think, obviously, the Cowboys, their impressive performance last week versus the Vikings, they're going to get a win at home. I don't see them losing. Oklahoma -2 at Texas Tech. So this is just one I randomly found, to be completely honest with you guys. Oklahoma, they played well last week. Their defense is playing better. I think they're just a straight-up better team than Texas Tech. I know Texas Tech is at home. They play better on offense at home. But I really think Oklahoma and Brett Venables are going to want to finish the year really with good momentum, have a really nice recruiting offseason, and they need to win this game to do that. And just the way they played last week against Oklahoma State, that game was not competitive at all. Even though the final score was like 28-13, it was a total blowout. So I think Oklahoma is decent value here. I think they get the job done and they win that game on the road. Boston College plus the 10.5 versus Syracuse. So guys, the thing with Boston College, they're a real streaky team, but I love the value at home. They've got a decent defense. I know they got annihilated last week. It was on the road. Now they're at home, and I just don't believe in Syracuse at all. Syracuse's offense is terrible. This has a lower scoring game written all over it, and I could see Boston College winning this game outright as 10.5-point underdogs, and I forgot to put college there, but of course it is Boston College. They are plus 10.5. And is that the last one? That is the last bet there. So that's another 14 parlay plus 652 here on that one, and that involves a few NFL games. But guys, that is going to do it for my top 5 college football parlays here for week number 13, the last week of the regular season. There will be at least another, parlay video for the bowl games. There's going to be a big extravaganza. I could do a lot because there are a ton of bowl games every single year. So this is not going to be the last parlay video. There should be one more after it, at least, and we will see what happens. But this is going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.